Hey, what's going on, everybody? Joe Chapman here, and I'm joined by...
And I'm Eric Russo.
And today we're going to be giving you our thoughts on how NFL free agency has been. It's certainly been a wild couple days from when it started to when it ended, and it's still going on, it feels like. So today we're going to talk about some free agency signings and our thoughts on them and how we think each one will pan out to look like during the season this year. So let's start with Derrick Henry to the Ravens. I think this is a great pickup for the Ravens. I still think Derrick Henry has plenty of juice left in the tank, and I still think he's going to be a monster this year and absolutely dominate as long as he stays healthy. Eric, you got one?
Yeah, I got Derrick Henry on my list. So he got some good muscles. So, yeah. So that was actually a big trade.
Agree there. And then next up, I want to talk about Stefon Diggs to the Texans. So, honestly, I don't think Stefon Diggs is washed up. I still think he's got plenty left, and I think he can absolutely, I see a path to a little bit of a rebound with him going to a quarterback on the rise in C.J. Stroud, and I think he's absolutely going to command volume. It seems like the people that are low on Diggs entering this year are either Bills fans and didn't go over second half of last year, or they had him in fantasy and he crumbled to it down the stretch. So I think we should try to take the bias out of it because we know how good Diggs can be. He is that type of caliber player, which is very good. So, Eric?
So the next player I want to talk about is Josh Jacobs. So the Packers have signed Josh Jacobs that they got it from the Las Vegas Raiders. So I think he's going to do well. Good pass from Jordan Love. So that's my hope for the next upcoming season.
And then next up we got, okay, so this one's two parts. Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. This both are joining the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the Steelers basically have a new quarterback room compared to what it was last year, where it was like Kenny Pickett, Mitchell Trubisky, Mason Rudolph didn't exactly work very well. So now they have Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, two completely different faces. I think if we see Russ starting, like that's pretty much going to be absolutely it. But I think Justin Fields personally is going to be the long-term answer for them. I think he's the one that's more motivated than Russ personally, much more younger, much more dynamic at this stage, and there is still plenty of meat left on that bone, according to me and Mike Tomlin, as he said at one of his press conferences. So yeah, definitely think Fields could be in a big year depending on the opportunity he gets.
Alright, the next player I want to talk about is Aaron Jones, who used to play the Green Bay Packers, and then he got traded to the Minnesota Vikings. I think he's going to do well against the Vikings.
Alright, and then next up, I want to talk about Keenan Allen joining the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears have a fully loaded wide receiver corps. Let me just stop and say that. Seriously, they already got DJ Moore, now they got Keenan Allen, and now they drafted Rome Odunze with the 9th overall pick. Yeah, this wide receiver core and offense is fully loaded. No doubt about that. And I'm trying to figure out who the one is going to be in this offense. And from a fantasy perspective, just an absolute headache. Like, you just never know which one to pick up. Am I taking this guy too high? It might be one of those situations where you just want to take the last guy available and get him for value. So, yeah, I think Keenan Allen could be another piece. Just, again, he is an older player, so health is kind of an issue with him, especially the past couple years. But I definitely think he can be a little bit of a contributor.
The next player I want to talk about is Kirk Cousins. So he's going to the Atlanta Falcons from the Minnesota Vikings. I know Kirk Cousins has been doing well when he used to play with the Vikings. So I think Kirk Cousins is going to do well when he played with the Falcons.
And then next up, I also want to talk about Hollywood Brown joining the Kansas City Chiefs. So I feel like, yeah, it could be an upgrade for offense with him. I think, no doubt, he's stepping into a role where he could see a good amount of spike weeks for sure. I definitely think the opportunity could be there. He might be a little volatile, especially when you look at, depending on how many games Rashee Rice plays, if any, this year, because there is talks about, something happening there, which I'm not going to get into, but just pointing that out. And then I also want to talk about the guy they drafted in the first round, Xavier Worthy, the speedster. He could be another bit of a guy that takes something away from Hollywood Brown. And then, well, let's not forget about Travis Kelce either. I still think he's going to be the number one target in this offense. So, yeah, I still think he's going to be a contributor, but there's definitely it's not going to be a guy. There's going to be multiple guys in this offense. Let's just say that.
I also have Hollywood Brown on my list. So the Ravens will face a former player who used to play with the Ravens, is Hollywood Brown, who is going to the Kansas City Chiefs.
And then next up, I want to talk about Calvin Ridley joining the Tennessee Titans, another wide receiver. So when you look about it, Calvin Ridley, his first game back from that suspension, he was kind of up and down, a little inconsistent. You never know if you were getting over 100 yards, couple touchdowns, or if you were getting like 20 yards or less than that and no touchdowns. He was very up and down, inconsistent. I mean, I'd say like he still had, I guess, a fine comeback to like the season, but like Trevor Lawrence didn't exactly look the best. I think that was maybe a big part of it. But still, I think my biggest thing here that is kind of rubbing me the wrong way, personally, is how much the Titans paid him. They gave him like a $92 million contract. So like, honestly, I hope this works out for them, that they don't look like idiots for paying him all that money. So I kind of have my questions surrounding that, but I think he could be a little bit of a contributor.
So the next player I want to talk about is Dante Johnson, who used to play with the Steelers. So he got traded to the Panthers. I think he's going to play well with the Panthers. We'll see how he does.
And then next up, all right, we're going to do one more each here. I'm going to talk about Mike Williams to the Jets, and I think I don't. This is just one of those, one of those signings where you just don't really care about. That's personally how I feel about this. I don't think there's going to be many weeks where you're going to like forget about him, like he's just going to disappear. I don't really see like much of a floor with this guy, and also he's approaching like the age cliff. He's kind of like those older receivers. Not only that, because he's coming off also a pretty serious injury. So, and they also drafted Malachi Corley pretty high within the first few rounds as well. So I don't think there's going to be too much of a path for him. And then, of course, Garrett Wilson is going to continue to eat. I think he's obviously going to continue to be the clear-cut one, personally.
And then the final player I want to talk about is Gus Edwards, who used to play with the Ravens, and then he got traded to the LA Chargers. So, but at least the Ravens got a big trade, which is Derrick Henry that we just talked about earlier in this video. Yeah, so the Ravens will play against Gus Edwards' team next year, and it's going to be a Harbaugh Bowl, which is Jim Harbaugh and John Harbaugh.
Alright, and thanks for watching this video. Please let us know what you think of some of these signings, and please feel free to let us know when you see us in person, not in the comment section because those are disabled. So until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.
Have a good one.